Hey everybody, wanted to talk about a fun book. I have really been a fantasy fan my whole life. I am a fan of very fun and interesting satire and humor and tied to fantasy and sci-fi. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is still one of my favorite sci-fi books. So Discworld is been on my list. I want to get to it. And going through these used bookstores, I have found most of probably about 12 to 14 books in the Discworld series. So I had a conversation with somebody on Reddit, and I said, hey, where should I start? They said, well, you can always start with the first three, or you can start with my favorite character, Death. And Mort is the first book in the series of books in the Discworld group of books. And so this is the fourth book that was written in Discworld. First book in this series. So Discworld is a place where Terry Pratchett tells a wonderful series of stories and keeps them funny, keeps them fresh, keeps them fun. I'm really excited to get into it. I know a lot of people on the BookTube scope of people are reading Discworld novels at the time that I'm reading this, so it's exciting to kind of talk to people about it. One of my BookTube friends, Seagulls Gather, who is a wonderful channel. He does amazing book reviews. If you want to check him out, I'll link him down below. He's a big Discworld fan, and I was talking to him about this book where I was like, I just don't know how to describe it, and he's like, oh man, it's my favorite. So I definitely wanted to give it a good review for him. And I think he has Reaper Man signed by Terry Pratchett, which I'm so jealous of. Yeah, check his channel out. He's great. Mort is the fourth book in the Discworld series, which I said, written by Terry Pratchett. It was published in 1987 and is the start of the Death books. We'll put this right here. In 2003, it was voted as the most loved Pratchett book by the BBC's Big Read contest. And in a 2004 interview, Pratchett said he was pleased with this book, saying that all previous books, the plot existed to support the jokes, but in Mort, the plot was integral to the story. The cover art that I currently have is created by Josh Kirby, and I like it a lot. I can't figure out which character's Mort. Maybe it's the screaming guy over here, but you have Death, you have Blinky. I think this is the princess. I think this is the sorcerer. I think this is his daughter. I don't know. It could be Albert. I'm not exactly sure who everybody is in that picture, but I do like that picture a lot. I'm glad I have that copy, because they've got the newer versions they're reprinted in 2004 that are just not as good. I've got most of my copies are in that newer style, and they're not as cool as those covers. So our main character in this one is Mort. He's a teenage boy who his father is trying to find a place for him. He is awkward. He's gangly. I think he's described as having too many elbows. It's very common when you think of like a tall young man, skinny tall young man that's just a bit awkward, and that's what I imagine Mort as. So his father takes him into town for a job fair, and he is the last person picked as an apprentice for the job fair. His dad waits with him until right before midnight, and Death comes riding up on his horse. When Death comes up to Mort, he says, would you like to be my apprentice? Mort's a little concerned about the idea of being Death's apprentice. His father sees no problem with it. Come to find out that his father sees Death as someone else entirely. And just, it's very fun to see the way that Death is portrayed, where really he's given this level of, I'm seen as what you want me to see, because the human mind perceives things the way the human mind just feels it should be. And I found that very fun to play around with. And if I do finally write a novel, I'd love to have Death as a character, and not stolen from Terry Pratchett in the way that he does it, but just in a way that gives life to Death, I guess you would say, which is what he truly does here. He makes Death someone that you want to learn more about. You want to figure out what he's doing, what's going on with him. Fun bit of trivia. In French, Mort means death, which makes sense. Mortality, more, Now, I gave this book 4 stars, but only because I had a harder time understanding the universe. Really, I think I should have started with The Light Fantastic, which I believe is book 1 total, like the first book he wrote. And I know I don't have to start there, but I'd love to back up and just give it a start at the very beginning, so that when I get to Mort, the jokes make more sense. the things that may have happened earlier in the books that we kind of get an idea. I know Rincewind is a big part of the story, but not knowing who he was, like we meet him for a little while and we go, oh, okay. I bet that's a wonderful throwback for people that read 1, 2, and 3. And me starting at the 4th, I probably missed a few of those things. And so I may come back to Mort later and give it 5 stars because I very, very much enjoyed it. But there were moments where I was like, I wonder if I would enjoy it more if I read this other book first. Now, Death interacts with the world in a very funny way. It makes sense. His voice lines are all capitals. So it feels like he speaks in this deep, otherworldly voice, but he doesn't have to open his mouth to speak. So sometimes, I would assume that it would be that booming, deep voice, like a Darth Vader type voice, but just from like everywhere at the same time. And I just love the humor you get from Death. Let me read you a quick part right here. So Death was standing, teaching Mort some stuff. He's like, "You haven't heard of the Bay of Monte, have you?" "No, sir," said Mort. "Famous shipwreck there." "Was there? Well, there will be," said Death, "if I can find the damn place." You meet a bunch of characters. Let me go through. You've got Mort. Obviously, we've talked about Mort. He's the title character. He is an apprentice to Death, and then you have Death, obviously, who is his master, and he's learning to train somebody. You kind of get the idea that he really wanted, at least at the beginning, his daughter to meet a young man, and so that's why he brought Mort. But then as the story progresses, Death realizes Mort's doing a pretty good job at this apprentice thing. I'm going to let him handle a little bit, and I'm going to go travel. I'm going to check a few things out. I'm going to give Mort the reins for a little while, and obviously the teenage apprentice messes things up. But also, in Death's domain, you have his daughter, Jezebel, and his manservant, Albert, and the wonderful and amazing horse, Binky. He had a skeleton horse, but parts kept falling off of them, so he got a real horse, and he is a really good horse. And I like Binky. Binky's a fun character. Where Mort messes up is he falls in love with this princess. This is not really a spoiler. I think it tells you in the back cover. But yeah, he goes to kill a princess and he can't. And because he can't kill this princess, the world kind of goes into this, we've messed with what we shouldn't have messed with, and now things are trying to reassert themselves in the right order of things, and he needs to fix it. But Death has really just enjoyed being away and hasn't come back in a little while, so he has to fix it on his own. It's a short book, not very long if you look, and so some of the cool things about it are just the way that it's handled in a fun and interesting way. Really handles walking through walls in a way that I didn't think you could do. A door knocker is really, really funny that talks back to the people knocking on him. And one of the really fun parts that really just had me laugh out loud was Mort goes to this bar just to kind of relax. He's been stressed out about doing Death's job, and he goes in, he kind of gets hazed a little bit by the people at the bar, but he's gaining Death's abilities. So they hand him basically like hardcore motor cleaning moonshine. And he takes a drink of it, it doesn't really bother him. And they're like, did I give him the right stuff? And so, but he has a moment where he needs to go outside and look at something. And then he looks at that thing, he comes back in, he asks a question, and then he runs back outside, he gets on the horse and he rides away. And so we get to this part and it had me laughing. So it was left to the landlord to walk unsteadily across the room and reach out and run his fingers across the familiar but reassuring wooden surface of the door. It was solid, unbroken, everything a door should be. Everyone had seen Mort run through it 3 times, he just hadn't opened it. and so in that moment, they play around with him being able to walk through walls. He can only do it when he doesn't know he's doing it. And so it's funny that he was like freaking out. He was like running in and out of the door without ever opening it. I had a blast with it. I really did. And I'm excited to read more Discworld because I love jokes. I am a dad joke fan. I want the dad jokes. I want all of them. I subscribe to a subreddit that's dad jokes. I have an app on my phone that's dad jokes. Like, I like them. I love them. I'm a dad. I get to love dad jokes. So I'm excited to read so much more. And I've heard Death is such a fun character, so I really want to dig into that series more. But I'm going to go and I'm going to jump off and do the 3 books before this series, and I'm going to jump back into the Death series with Reaper Man. But I believe The Light Fantastic, The Color of Magic, and one other one will be my next 3 Discworld books. Tell me what your favorite Discworld book is. Currently, this is my favorite because it's the only one I've read, but I had a blast with it. It was a lot of fun. It really, really was. And I will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for watching this review, and I hope you guys have a wonderful and fantastic day. Bye.